It's amazing. You had all kinds of different wonderful heroes in this. Friedman, 6 innings, gave up only 4 hits, no runs, struck out 6. The Braves were under 500 at the beginning of August. They had to replace Ronald Acuna. They get 4 new guys in. That changes everything. Brian Snitker, a Braves lifer, 45 years. Couldn't be happier for anybody than I was for Brian Snitker. Jock Peterson, by the way, goes back to back. Spent a little time with the Cubs this year. I hated they gave him up. But he won the title with the Dodgers last year and with the Braves this year. All Jock Peterson knows is putting on those pearl beads and winning. It's good stuff. All right, so I mentioned at the top that there is new legislation. It is called the NCAA Accountability Act of 2021, and it was introduced yesterday by our own Congressman David Kustoff from the 8th District, also Burgess Owens from Utah, who is another Republican, but we got a Democrat in here that did it too. That's Josh Harder from California. So let's begin, and thank you so much, Congressman Kustoff, for coming on with us today. This is really kind of cool. And as I read this thing, it just made me think of James Wiseman. Of course, I don't think this is going to help Memphis out because you're just introducing this stuff. But was the genesis in your mind for holding more accountability to the NCAA, was the genesis the decision on James Wiseman? Good morning.
Well, you're right, Dave. And first of all, thank you for having me on this morning. You're right. James Wiseman really spurred the legislation. I think back on that. You do too. It's almost been 2 years since everything happened with James Wiseman, and I think about the facts and the nature of the NCAA investigation. But the fact of the matter is that the NCAA dispenses disproportionate and disparate treatment, and I think it really depends on the school. And when you're a university or an athlete, and you're trying to deal or defend with whatever allegations the NCAA asserts, it's very difficult because the NCAA, in fact, it's the investigator, it's the prosecutor, it's the judge, it's the jury, and it's the executioner. And I think that removes all due process from the proceedings. And I wanted to level the playing field. And as you said, we worked on legislation. It's bipartisan. There's support from both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, to try to reform the process as it relates to the NCAA.
I want to get into what the bill does in a minute, but you guys introduced this yesterday. What kind of feedback did you get? What kind of timetable do you think you could actually have in passing this stuff where it actually becomes law?
Well, good question. So the feedback's been positive all the way around. And again, you think about that, David. Washington, as we know, the country is split along political lines. This is one of those issues, though, that everybody sees the rightness of it, if you will. So the feedback has been really good. Now, you asked about the timing, and I found out that yesterday after we introduced it, it was assigned that the legislation in the committee process. I actually thought it might go to the Judiciary Committee. It's gone to the Labor and Education Workforce Committee, and I think that committee generally will be favorable to the legislation, and we just need to try to get it on a common track where it goes through the process. In Washington, a lot of times things move at its own pace, if you will, and it takes a while. So, at this point, I can't say that it's 3 months or 6 months or what have you, but I think it's going to get the eyes and ears and attention of a lot of people around here.
All right, what do you think are the most important things this bill will do?
Yeah. So again, I do think leveling the playing field. A lot of times when these allegations come about, they're confidential sources. This bill tries to address that. These investigations Well, think about Wiseman. We're 2 years or 2+ years into the investigation. There would be a defined statute of limitations for it to wrap up. And I think there's so many important parts, but one main part that I like, especially being a lawyer, if the NCAA comes down with a bad result, or you think they're going to come down with a bad result, the member school or the athlete or whomever has the right to go to binding arbitration under this bill. So it takes it, if you will, out of the NCAA umbrella. There would be 3 arbitrators, Dave. So one that the school or the athlete would choose, an arbitrator that the NCAA would choose, and then those 2 arbitrators would choose a third arbitrator. And so I think that makes it more even. And look, we know that in the world of college sports that things go on that shouldn't go on, and those athletes or those schools should be punished. But I do think about the University of Memphis and schools like that if, take the same facts. If it were Duke, UNC, I think somebody would be hard-pressed to argue that they wouldn't get preferential or favorable treatment.
Well, we've seen it. I mean, all you got to do is look at the case with academic fraud in North Carolina. That's supposed to be the most egregious, and they used basically a clause because the classes were open to everybody that there wasn't going to be any kind of penalty. It's still amazing to me. 2 things that you just mentioned that caught my eye. The first was the prohibition of using confidential sources. So everything is above board, and you know what you're really being charged with and who is saying what. And the other, and I want to clarify this, you establish a 2-year statute of limitations. So in the case of Memphis and Wiseman, I think we're at 2 years. Does that get Memphis off the hook?
Well, that's the thing, is that this legislation obviously is introduced after the fact. And so I think that the arguments could be made that Wiseman and the University of Memphis circumstances, going back to all that, they may not apply to the legislation. They may not. But the fact of the matter is that when you deal with serious allegations, and anytime the NCAA comes and investigates, it is serious, but there's a time for closure, one way or the other. I mean, either do something or don't do something, because it's not fair to the athlete and it's not fair to the school. And we think about, we can go back 10, 12, 13 years to our 2008 run where we made the final game and should have beaten Kansas, and the game shouldn't have gone to overtime. But as part of the punishment, we're erased from the history books. We don't have a banner in the FedEx Forum celebrating that terrific run. And, that was after the fact, and that was after a coach was gone and after a player was gone. But the University of Memphis was left holding the bag. And I think that that's unfortunate, and I think it's another example of disparate treatment.
I really wonder, and this is why I love your arbitration aspect of it all, if we had gone before an arbitrator and argued that Derrick Rose was cleared by you, the entity that just punished you, how in the world, if they cleared you, are you going to be vacated all those games? That to me is interesting. In the IARP, which is supposed to render at some point some sort of the decision on Memphis and Wiseman, there is no ability to appeal the case. So the arbitration, I think, is really big in your proposed legislation.
Yeah, I agree. And, I talked about, I really wanted to lay it out. I mean, you think about the NCAA, whether it relates to the University of Memphis and James Wiseman or anybody, what the NCAA just did this morning with Oklahoma State. I mean, they investigate, they prosecute it, they rule on it, they issue the sentence. In what world is that fair? I mean, I know I'm asking this rhetorically because
right.
I think everybody listening probably agrees with me, and in Washington, I think everybody agrees with that. So if you can take some of those components out and give it to an arbitration panel that the parties and the NCAA get to choose who the arbitrators are. That's probably about the fairest result you're going to get one way or the other.
Last thing for Congressman David Kustoff, we thank you for your time today. I know you got to get back to the House, but how is this going to get enforced? I know you talk about the Department of Justice being involved. Lay that one out for me.
Yeah, so there is a Department of Justice component where the Department of Justice could get involved and essentially issue fines and maybe even criminal penalties if the NCAA fails to comply with certain provisions. So that puts teeth into it. Okay, that it clearly puts teeth into it, and I think, and I really thought about this a lot. I think if anybody were to read the bill, which is not terribly long, you can tell that I put a lot of thought into it, and so did our other co-sponsors and other people who worked on the bill. That there is a lot of thought in it. But is there any other institution, any other group, any other entity that has the absolute power of the NCAA in this nation, the way that they do over their schools? I can't think of anybody. And so that really, to me, brings the very important need for the legislation. And again, we're seeing bipartisan support. We're seeing people want to come aboard, and we just need to see if we can try to move it along in this mass of stuff that we're dealing with in Washington right now.
Well, as great ideas are, it's pretty simple. I mean, the premise of this is to protect due process for those that are being accused: athletes, coaches, schools. It just is so common sense that I can't imagine it won't work. I really hope it does. I hope it works in a quick way. I wonder, last thing really, Congressman Kustoff, which comes first, your legislation or the end of the IARP or the NCAA?
Well, those are all good questions. I know I can try to control what I can try to control, and with this legislation, I want to keep the trains on the track, and I use the term due process a fair amount over the last day or so trying to describe this. I really think that schools like Memphis, frankly, every school that's under the jurisdiction of the NCAA and every student athlete deserves to have that due process. And so I'm going to continue to push it.
We thank you. Keep pushing, and I know we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thanks for having me on this morning.
My pleasure. My pleasure. That is Congressman David Kustoff from the 8th District. I love the fact that it is bipartisan. That, to me, gives it a better chance of passing in the long run. I'm sitting here in the Family Leisure Studios, and we got a Relax at Home sale going on. I wouldn't be surprised if we got some new sale going on because it's the new month. And those people at Family Leisure are always trying to find ways to bring you the best and the latest. For right now, though, still go and enjoy pool or shuffleboard or air hockey. Get the new massage chairs. That's a full-body massage. That new technology really does work. If you've got ailing muscles in your back or in your neck, you can watch the big game or a great movie on new theater seating and get a good price. Also, spas, saunas, and the last of the patio furniture. Good prices if you get to I-40 and Whidden Road. And I'll let you know this portion of our show is brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and right now, the buyback on a repair bill. So if you've had your existing heating and air conditioning system worked on this year, if you think your energy guzzler is on its last leg and worth nothing, not so, because John's got buyback days at Conway. That's what he's got. He'll buy your repair up to $1,500. He'll give you that money if you choose to select the new technology, the great Carrier Infinity Systems. Yeah, $1,500 on a repair, even if they didn't do it. Just show a receipt from any company, they buy back the repair. If you didn't have a repair, but you want to trade up and get the new technology, he gives you $1,500 in trade. You can't beat it. When air conditioning systems get older and inefficient, the cost of repairs and high utility costs, it almost pays for a new system. Do yourself a favor. Get that new system. 384-3511. It's buyback days at Conway. Stats Norsworthy. You'll get his impression of the college football playoff. I'm wondering if he may become a receiver for Ole Miss. They are depleted in that department. That is for sure. And Liberty is in town in Oxford on Saturday. How will Hugh Freeze be received? Stats Norsworthy has all those answers in just a minute.
Hey, this is Eli Savoy. Greg Gaston and I have moved. Instead of Sports 56 middays, we are now Sports 56 mornings. That's right. Join us every morning from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey friends, Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and this year we're celebrating our 36th Christmas. And in those 36 years, we've learned what Memphis women want in jewelry. From the most talented jewelers and designers in this country and abroad, we've gathered a stunning collection of the finest jewelry in the Mid-South. Diamonds and rubies, emeralds and sapphires, any gemstone you can imagine, all set in a magnificent array of rings and bracelets, necklaces and earrings. There's stunning pieces that will tell your lady that you care enough to give her the very best. We have a large selection of estate and vintage jewelry if that suits her fancy. Or if she's more contemporary, come and see our collection of avant-garde, trend-setting eye-catchers. This Christmas, put a Russell Brothers box under the tree, and when she opens that box, she's going to be thrilled and you're going to be a hero. Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins. Let us help you be the best Santa.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code TRIP for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code TRIP for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TRIP.
If you were to look up comfort food in the dictionary, you should find a picture of the menu from Sunrise on Jefferson. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, there's simply nothing like the food at Sunrise. Breakfast is served all day, every day, with house-made biscuit sandwiches like the usual, with bacon, egg, and cheddar, or the Rooster, with a fried chicken breast, house-made pickles, and Tabasco honey. At lunch, tuck into a downtown burger with bacon and cheddar, with a kickin' chicken salad. I think the name speaks for itself. If you're craving great food served fresh and fast, you're looking for Sunrise.
AC trouble? Call Air Doctors of Memphis, 901-598-HVAC. Owner Matt Davis is a third-generation full-service air conditioning specialist. Air Doctors of Memphis services all major brands, and labor and parts are guaranteed 100%. Their yearly AC checkup is only $60. Then this year, Air Doctors is the official HVAC contractor for St. Jude Dream House. Air Doctors installed the St. Jude Dream House new Train high-efficiency equipment. Get your service from the best. AirDoctorsOfMemphis.com. Call 901-598-HVAC. Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Our title sponsor for this hour, you just heard the announcer man. It is Homer Skelton Hyundai, Genesis of Olive Branch. They raised the bar. That product is so good, but so is the service. A team that's been together 15 years. Just get on Lamar into Mississippi, exit Craft Road. That's number one. And go see what I'm talking about, the way car business should be done. That's what you'll get at Homer Skelton Hyundai. and Genesis of Olive Branch. Kind, as always, to join us every Wednesday morning in this time slot is Brett Norsworthy. So we saw last night the verdict is in, and it is real SEC and Big Ten heavy. It is not a good poll at all for the American or for Cincinnati without any top 25 teams. I just don't see, Brett, how the Bearcats have any chance of cracking into the top four there. I suppose there's a way with a bunch of upsets and stuff of that nature, but I was a little surprised at the placement. How about you?
Dave, I was stunned. And yesterday on our show, Good Afternoon, or Good Morning, rather, and it's an honor to be with you every Wednesday and with you and Jay Morgan. I was stunned. Yesterday, Gabe and I did our top four, and my number one's everybody's number one, Georgia. That's unarguable. I don't think there's any quibble out there about Georgia. My number two was Michigan State for what they did on the field of play. I think that really matters on the field of play, what they did last weekend. My three was Cincinnati. My four was Oklahoma. I yielded to the zeros, all those teams undefeated, Georgia, Michigan State, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma. I don't think that's how the final poll will look, but I thought last night would be more reflective of that. And instead, that committee, they love eye tests, they love strength of schedule, and they really penalized Oklahoma, but they also penalized Cincinnati. But I'm not going to freak out. It's just the first poll. We've got a lot of football to play, and I think November is going to be just a rash of upsets around the country, including Alabama being an upset watch Thanksgiving weekend in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah. Well, when's the last time they won at Auburn? I think it was 2015. So
it was 2015. They lost in 13 on kick six. They lost in 17 to Jarrett Stidham. They lost in 19 to Bo Nix. Bo Nix is back in 21, and I saw a mighty fine Auburn team that's playing probably its best football in a while right now. And Brian Harsin, I think right now, is Coach of the Year in the SEC. They play A&M in an elimination game this weekend, so this thing's going to boil down. It's going to coalesce. Cincinnati, I thought they were wronged last night, but they still have time to right it. But I think Cincinnati loses before it's all said and done.
Well, they might.
Somewhere to somebody.
I don't know if that is going to be the case. Houston, according to Memphis coaches, besides Cincinnati, they get the most athletes.
No shocker in that pot of players they sit in.
Right. I just don't know that Cincinnati will lose. I know they haven't looked good the last couple of weeks. That probably hurt. I'll be honest with you, Brett. I didn't have a problem as much with Alabama being number two. I wouldn't have had them in the top four, but I didn't have a problem because they have to beat Georgia to get into the championship, provided they don't lose to Auburn.
We shouldn't project.
But they still have to beat Alabama. And if they do, they probably deserve to be in. And it's great marketing for the College Football Playoff Committee because most people think of Alabama as the Cadillac of college football. That's the poster child. So I can kind of understand that.
Tell me who Bama's beat this year. Give me Bama's Gold Star win this year.
Ole Miss, when they were healthy.
Okay.
We know they lost.
Gold Star win?
We know they lost to A&M. I'm with you, but Mike
Florida
DeCourcy,
by 2 at Gainesville. Florida's really bad.
I agree.
Florida's bad.
But you know what? Mike DeCourcy said this. I don't know if you listened to the open of the show. I've already mentioned this, but I'll do it again.
I did.
That this thing is built for the Power Five. It is not built for anybody to crash the party. And when you have an accumulation of teams from your league, do you think Mississippi State is the number 17 team in the country?
I don't. I think Mississippi State, they have 2 great wins, but they also have something else. They have 3 losses.
I know.
And that's on the field of play. Normally, in most realms of sport, a loss really penalizes you. And it should. Now,
it should.
Now here's what I love about Cincinnati. They muddle around and on the road, not very impressively, but in the end, they win comfortably over Tulane, right?
Right.
But that's really held against Cincinnati. But Oklahoma struggling week 1 against Tulane.
How about Kansas? How about being behind in the fourth quarter against Kansas? How come? Well, they were punished.
No,
Look where they are.
Now, OU did get punished in the poll, but the perception of Oklahoma muddling at home in Norman in a game that was on the fly rescheduled for Norman that was supposed to be played in New Orleans but couldn't because of Hurricane Ida, the contempt is not as much as the Cincinnati. It wasn't even a narrow escape. It wasn't that impressive. But we still got a lot of football to play. I think Alabama's really good, but I don't think it's vintage. I didn't think it would be preseason. It will be next year. This is the most gettable they're going to be. But they have to close out against LSU, New Mexico State, Arkansas, and Auburn. Auburn can beat them. Auburn this week against Texas A&M in College Station. That's a coin toss game. I think Auburn will win because I think Auburn's got a better quarterback and just as good a coach.
What can I ask a question?
Sure.
What about UTSA? They haven't lost a game. What are they supposed to do to get in the top 25?
All right, and if you want to play the transitive property game, so Mississippi State, they're in it, and they lost to Memphis, but Texas San Antonio beat Memphis.
Exactly.
Who knew Memphis would be so primary into this?
Right. I don't get it.
You're just not unless you're in the group of five, a power five. You're
but
not
it's poll
going
number
to get
one.
It. Yeah, but here's the problem.
It will sort out.
Here is
Tell
the problem.
me how good the SEC really is this year. Other than Georgia, make me the case that this really is week in, week out murderer's row. Now, I can easily do it, but I want somebody else to do it for me.
Well,
I know what I see every weekend, and it's good, but how good's Tennessee?
I would say
how good's
this.
Mississippi State?
Yeah.
How good's Arkansas?
Well,
how good's Ole Miss?
I think Ole Miss healthy was really good. But
I do too.
And they got a great player quarterback. But I was going to ask you if you have any eligibility left as the Swift receiver that you once were.
No. It was never Swift. I was really, really slow for my size, which was shocking to people. You'd think for somebody that small that they might be fast, but I was not. No, Ole Miss is down. It's threadbare at wide receiver. I mean, there's going to be people playing this Saturday against Liberty that Matt Corral hadn't had a lot of reps with, and you can't get a lot with the practice limitations that we have now in college football, and it's a shame. Lane Kiffin makes a strong case that if the Ole Miss receiving corps, Mingo, Sanders, Drummond all stay healthy, Matt Corral was going to run off and hide for the Heisman Trophy.
I agree with that.
I think he would have. He is in an elite class of quarterbacks on rushing and on touchdown passing that usually that wins a Heisman Trophy. It's a shame for him, but we also know it's a winning team quotient in it. If he wins out, Ole Miss finishes 10-2. I don't think that will happen, but if they do, and he has the requisite numbers, he's still in the mix. But it's Kenneth Walker from Arlington, Tennessee, to lose right now.
I was just going to ask. We both have votes. People know that by now. If you'd asked me 2-3 weeks ago, I would have said my number one guy at this point would have been Matt Corral. There is no question right now it's Kenny Walker, the kid from Arlington High School, who had almost 200 yards and 5 touchdowns in a comeback win against their rival, Michigan.
He was primary to it.
And they're still undefeated.
He was the key to it.
Oh, no question.
Now, he has to finish out. I think for him to win the Heisman, they have to win the Big Ten.
I agree. They have to win the Big Ten. I'm with you there. Or he's got to put up numbers and something fluky's got to happen that you go, well, it's not Kenny Walker's fault. He did his job.
I didn't know we'd ever see another running back win a Heisman.
Well, this kid is really special. And I actually asked the Memphis coaches, I said, how did everybody – Memphis, all the SEC schools.
Everybody missed him twice.
Do you know?
They missed him to Wake Forest out of high school and missed him in transfer to Michigan State.
Well, first of all, you know he did actually have one other offer. Wake Forest came in late, and he changed his mind and went there. The only other offer he had was Kent State. Can you believe that? So everybody was missing on him. Wake Forest. How did Wake Forest lose him is what I want to know.
And Wake Forest really good.
Yeah, they haven't lost
one of the
yet
remaining
either.
Undefeated teams.
Boy, by the way, of all the Power 5 school conferences, the ACC got dumped on, and they don't look very good. I mean, here's Wake Forest 9th with an 8-0 record.
See, I think Wake Forest loses a couple of times before the year's over.
I
think in the final poll there will be at least one 2-loss team. In the college football playoff, there will be a 2-loss team.
Could be. It could be.
It could be Bama, losing to Georgia in the SEC championship game.
I just have a feeling, depending on what else occurs, if Oklahoma stays undefeated, which could easily happen, I don't know how the Big 12 is going to play Oklahoma State now. Would they play them in their championship game since they're banned from postseason? Right? I don't know what's going to happen with that.
That's a tough call.
Yeah.
Because then they're the wrecking ball.
Right. Interesting.
Like the Tigers were up at the Metro basketball tournament.
Exactly. Well, you know what? They made the rule after that. If you were banned from postseason, you couldn't play in your conference championship tournament. And that was the smart way to go. All right, last thing, because I got to get your take on the World Series. How about that story of the Braves? Under 500 starting August, come back with a remade outfield. Their best players not there. And look who came through in that. I really feel so happy
Charlie Morton
for Snitker. Yeah. And almost lost
really happy
Max
for
Fried last night. I mean, can you believe how flexible that dude is?
Oh, Max Fried, that was some performance, and they had to have it. I'm happy for my Braves friends. I tweeted this last night. The Braves become the 15th different team to win it in the 21st century. They become the 10th different team to win it since the Yankees last won it. And it shows the diversity around baseball. We've had 9 different National League teams win it in the 21st century, 6 different American League teams, and it should quiet, but it won't. The people that say, oh, baseball's decided when we go to spring training, you know who's going to win it. Well, I don't, and over the course of the 21st century, nobody else did either. I like the diversity. I like the Braves getting theirs for the first time since 95, and the party's on in Atlanta, and they should be. That was quite a win, and coming back from what happened to them last year, up 3-1 over the Dodgers to seal it. I think they had to win it last night. If you'd have got to Game 7, here comes the noise in Houston.
Absolutely, I agree. They had to get 6 innings out of Fried, and they did, and that was
He's
really
got all
terrific.
winter to rest. That's what they say.
Exactly. All right, I lied. I got to ask you one more thing. How will Hugh Freeze be received at Vaught Hemingway Saturday when he arrives?
I think it will be a nice reception. For me, through how it all shook out, how it all ended, and we know how it all ended. No need to go through every bit of that. But how it all ended, I still will always appreciate him to deliver the Ole Miss Rebels for the first time in 46 years to the Sugar Bowl and with a win. For that, I can't have too much rancor for him.
He is Brett Norsworthy. You listen to him and Gabe every afternoon from 3 to 6. And then, of course, every Wednesday morning right here. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. We got basketball next week. Thank you.
I know. We've got
wait.
hoops. There's not a sweeter guy, honestly, than my old partner, Brett Norsworthy. There's just not. So it's time to think about sweetness. It's, holiday time. Many companies are shipping their gifts before Thanksgiving. So what am I thinking? Dinstall's, because they make it fresh. So you should get your order in place right now so they can schedule the production of the candy in time for the holidays. You can select a tower of Cashew Crunch. Oh, does that sound good? Or there's the Turtlettes. There's an assorted chocolate display that you could come up with. Dinstall's will find the right assortment that fits your budget. What better way to say thank you for your business than this gift made right here in Memphis? The best thing, I think, is Dinstall's Candies. Give them a call today. Place your order for the holidays at Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, downtown, and where they make the candies on Pleasant View. We pause for just a second, and when we come back, it's time for Jarvis Greer. Jarvo from Action News 5 is right around the corner.
Former Memphis Tiger Gabe Kuhn joins Brett Norsworthy for Sports Time on Sports 56, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. free. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
For years, I have talked to you about James Davis, the finest men's store in all of Memphis, the service, the selection, everything that goes with quality. And I've told you recently about the Stant Perfect Fit shirts. Well, now there's the Stant Perfect Fit pants. Absolutely amazing. Only 2 measurements fed into a computer, and all of a sudden, you've got the perfect fit pants. I'm talking everywhere. The leg, the seat, the bottom, all made to fit your body absolutely perfectly. And there's 80 different fabrics to choose from. You will find the right look, the right fit, almost instantaneously. They start at $162, but you will never find a better pair of pants than these at James Davis Men's Store. And the shirts are still there, and guess what? It's the only place in Memphis that you can find Stant. That's the James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center.
Memphis, it's official, honey. Crab Kings is where it's at. The best seafood with 7 flavors to choose from. Try the shrimp, chicken, salmon, and fried lobster pastas. There's snow crab, king crab, dungeons, and more. Please don't forget about the calamari, shrimp, and lobsters, honey. The portions, the price, the taste is only at Crab Kings. Download our app and search Crab Kings on Google. Visit us at crabkingstn.com. Crab Kings, where the flavor is king.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
She's a good girl.
If you golfers out there are playing Miramichi, Galloway, any number of courses, Fox Meadows, that kind of place, and you hear somebody yelling 4 on a regular basis, it's probably my man Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark Spensdorf. He's just hit into you. Along and being known as the worst golfer in town, he's known as the best of the real estate agents in town. I think when you want the job done, you call Sheldon. Instead of practicing his golf game, he spends most of the time making sure his clients get the absolute best service and the most money for their homes using his highly successful strategic marketing program. So while he's often known as 3-putter triple bogey, he's the best when it comes to real estate. Make the call. If you want the best, you call Sheldon at 483-0546 or go to memphisrelocate.com. Jarvo from Action News 5 joins us now. Jarvis Greer, your first thoughts when you saw the news of the College Football Playoff Committee. No American teams in the top 25, Cincinnati at 6.
Screw job. That's exactly what I felt. It's like, come on. And they're doing it because they put Cincinnati 6th, right?
Yes.
It's like, I don't know what they have to do to, if you look at their resume compared to everybody else's resume, now they're saying all the losses don't count. You know, and then when you look at the fact that neither SMU or Houston is in this initial poll, that means they have no other path. They're almost making it sure that that they don't have a path to the promised land.
I agree. And you take a look at Oregon that made the final position there. They've got the win over Ohio State, but Cincinnati's got the win at Notre Dame. So they both have the quality wins. Oregon's got a terrible loss to Stanford. A terrible, what are they, a 2-win team?
2-win team.
And Cincinnati does not have that loss. You think you look at the other wins, I don't know how Oregon really gets in over Cincinnati. I honestly do not.
I don't either. And, you said, they only beat Tulane by, 19? Tulane, And that's as you and I both know, that's a tough place to play in a little bandbox stadium down there. And they went down there and they beat them. Oh, they struggled with them in the first half. Well, look at how many teams struggled in the first half before they, that are ranked higher in this poll against whoever they played, and then ended up pulling away from them late, to make the score look like, it wasn't even close or whatever. So it's the same thing, screw job. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And I don't care the fact that, Cincinnati and Houston and them are leaving for the Big 12. Maybe they'll get a little bit more respect then, but that's just wrong. Wrong is wrong, and that is wrong. Cincinnati has done everything they can do. They put together a good schedule, a schedule worthy of a CFP ranking, and a chance to. And if they win all their games, they should be in the top 4. They should. I don't know. You put them in there wherever you want to put them, but that just doesn't make sense. They're not even in that. That just doesn't make sense. Especially if you looked at Georgia and Alabama. Okay, I get you could put them. And it's all subjective. It's just so subjective. It doesn't go what they actually did on the field. They say, well, I think if this team played that team, this team would beat that team. Well, I don't care what you think. Play out of what did they do on the field? What have they actually done this year on the field?
That's why that 12-team playoff should happen. No question in any of our minds about that.
Well, you know me, Dave. I'm up for the 16-team playoff like they do in every other division in college football.
I'd be okay with that if it's even if
all
it's
the conference champions, and then you got 5 at large.
Well, if it goes to 12, at least 1 or 2 of the group of 5 have a chance of getting in every year.
1 or 2.
And I would take that as compared to nothing, which is clearly the message that you've gotten with this particular poll. All right. As the analyst of the Tiger radio broadcasts, let me ask you the question I've been asked a bunch already. Is Seth Hennigan going to play Saturday?
I don't know, and I wish I did know. But is this a little gamesmanship on Ryan Silverfield's part? It's a game time decision. We'll know. We'll know when we know, or it's no way to know until
you know what?
Out there.
In this day and age, coaches are that way. I mean, all you have to do is look at the UCF game, and we surmised that Hennigan wasn't going to be able to play. Yet he came out in pads, and he was warming up, even though it was pretty evident, at least in our eyes, that he would not play. So I don't blame Ryan Silverfield. I sort of expect that that's what we're going to get, because this is the way the game is played with paranoid coaches in this day and age. They're not going to let you know. So I promise you, we will not know about Seth Hennigan unless something crazy happens. We will not know until they kick it off Saturday morning.
I think that today they had their last media availability, their last Zoom call, and that was the defensive coordinator, so you're not going to get anything out of him. And, we'll just go right up there. We'll go to the stadium. We'll look down there on the field, see if he's warming up. He went out and warmed up down at UCF, but the only thing he didn't do, which the other quarterbacks do, is actually throw a ball more than 12 yards.
True.
While the other ones were, working on those deep outs and stuff like that, he was just basically tossing the ball back.
I don't think it was 12 yards. I think it was more like 4 yards, to be honest. All right, last
that
thing.
AC joint sprain is a tough thing.
Oh, it's
just painful.
And this kid's a gamer. He's going to try as hard as he
try
can.
As he can.
Yeah.
The only thing is, if you can't get strength out of it, that's why you can't play.
John Morant just had his 1,000th assist here in the early going of his third year. Yesterday, Chris Paul passed Mark Jackson and Steve Nash, third on the all-time assist list. And Paul's got 10,336. Jason Kidd is second with 12,091. John Stockton, the leading assist man in the history of the NBA, at 15,806. With 1,000, really in 2 years pretty much, and change. You think John Morant could actually catch John Stockton?
I think he catch John Stockton. That's
15,800.
He's going to have to make. The Grizzlies are going. If hopefully he's still playing with the Grizzlies, they're going to have to put some people around him that can shoot. And right now he's got some shooters with him. Desmond Bain, and when Jaren Jackson finally gets off the schneid he's on. I'm not that worried about him because, remember, Dylan Brooks started out really slowly last year after he signed his contract extension, and then came on really strong as the year went along. We saw that Jaren had he started to get that touch back a little bit in the last game against the Nuggets. hopefully it'll continue tonight. But, being assist, he can pass the ball, but you got to have guys that can shoot it. And, John Stockton for all those years had the mailman on the other end.
No question. And just think about this. So Ja's averaging 500 a year pretty much, right? Because it's the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to play almost 31 years. Oh, you'd have to play over 31 years to get that. He's not going to catch that. He's not going to catch it. But it's fun to talk about.
15,000 a long way. But, I think he's going to be up there in the top 10 because he is a pass-first point guard. Even though he can score and scores a lot, if you just look at his demeanor, he wants to get his teammates involved. And then as the game goes on, now he's just this year, and this is what they wanted him to do, be more assertive earlier in the games. And look at his average. I mean, he's averaging 28.7 points per game, something like that.
Oh yeah.
That's all-star kind of number. You got a guard that's averaging that. Plus, he's up there in assists. Assists.
He's worth going to see. That is for sure, and you can see him tonight. Jarvo, thank you so much, my buddy, and I'll see you at the Liberty Bowl on Saturday.
Oh man, looking forward to it. Bring the ponies on.
There you go. Bring the not ranked ponies in the College Football Playoff Committee. This final portion of the show is brought to you by the good folks at the Old Dominick Distillery, offering up carefully crafted cocktails to suit everybody's taste at their bar. People don't know about that bar. They know about the tours at 305 South Front Street. They don't know about this bar that is in a really cool atmosphere. It's neat. You can pull up a stool and you can ask the Old Dominick mixologist for a cocktail made entirely with spirits produced under the watchful eye right there at 305 South Front Street of master distiller Alex Castle. She's terrific. So whether you fancy an old-fashioned or you want to try a flight of the Old Dominick products, the expert mixologists are there to serve you at the bar at Old Dominick. Visit olddominick.com for the bar hours. There are no reservations that are necessary. We want to thank David Kustoff. I love this legislation that will try to protect schools, coaches, and athletes on the due process. I think that is terrific. Congratulations to our congressman from the 8th District. We thank Stats for his insight. And Jarvis Greer, you can watch him every night on Action News 5. That'll do it for us. We're back here again tomorrow. Johnny Radio is next.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the little